Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are starting part 5 of the Patriot system build. Over the night I got the decaling done on the C-band radar for the trumpeter kit. 15 decals on the entire kit. Wasn't too bad. We got some markings on the side of the control panel, one on the back that's on the ladder here, under the ladder, and then on the trailer we got a couple that are on the front of the sidearms, and doubt you might be able to pick up a little bit of it. And then on the actual radar system, just a few nose steps, and that was it for that one. So moving on, I'm going to start with the decaling of the trailer and the Patriot boxes and all the electronics boxes, and then after that I'm going to put on a matte or clear coat to do the panel line wash, and then a matte coat to start with the oils to get it all dusty and stuff. So, and that will be the end of part 5, and then moving on to part 6 will be the base and final assembly, and then after that's all done we'll be doing the final reveal, and that one will be off the bench finally. So I'm going to get the camera turned around. I'm going to show you guys how I do my decaling. I use a candle warmer to keep my water nice and warm, and I don't have to worry about getting up and getting warm water. It speeds up the process of decaling. I only have to have my decal in the water for maybe 20 to 30 seconds at a time, and then I can just pull it right off the paper. I don't have to let it set. So I'm going to get the camera turned around, and then we'll go through that with the Patriot system. So be right back. Alright, so we got the decals done on the C-band radar. Like I said earlier in the intro to this, all the decals went down good. I hit it with a little bit of microsol setting solution right here. Typically what I do on all my decals, just to let them get in the cracks and really set into the model. But again, pretty self-explanatory on all these decals. Armor decaling a lot easier than aircraft decaling. So got a couple there, one here, and then a couple on here, and then on the trailer you only have this one that goes on this box, and then a couple that go on, or one that goes on each arm, stabilizing arm, right here, and then the same on the back side. So this is all done. All I need to do is hit that up with a clear coat to protect the decals before I start doing all my weathering. And then we're moving on to the actual Patriot system. So like I said in the previous video, I decided to paint this desert tan, and along with one of the Connex boxes, or not Connex box, Patriot boxes. I don't know why I was thinking Connex box, and then these other Patriot missiles were done in the NATO tritone. So all I use is, I have like I said, a candle warmer that I got from Walmart for, I think it was like 10 bucks right there. And I just set my bowl in water. You want to make sure that the bowl is a flat bottom and not a concave bottom, because otherwise the heat from the candle warmer can't get to the bowl and it won't heat the water properly. So I know some people my decaling might make some people cringe. Some people might like it, some people might cringe. This is the way that works for me. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, do what works for you. That's all I can say. But all I do here is I find out what decals I need, and then I cut out what I need. So we're going to start off with the trailer, and the first one is the first to fire decal, which goes on to this box right here. So I'm gonna find it in the decal sheet, which is right here. Also, Dragon, their numbers on the decal sheet do not match the numbers on the call out. So again, Dragon with their lack of attention to detail, making stupid little mistakes on something that's as easy as matching numbers to decals. So, but all I'm going to do with this decal is I'm going to grab it with my tweezers, and I'm going to set it in the water for about 30 seconds. Alright, and then I got a cotton bud right here. I just dip it in water. And I get the location of the model. I put the decal sheet on the model, and then I just slide the decal right off onto the model. And then I'll get it into the right position. I'm just lightly tapping with the tweezers to get them into place. Alright, so that's in place. Just remove that dog hair. And then I come in with the dry end of the cotton bud. And then I roll out the excess water. Just come in here, starting at midway through the decal, roll out, repeat, and then here. So it did roll down a little bit. There is a little bit of an arc to it. So what I'll do is I'll re-wet it, draw out some of the water lightly, and then reposition it like so, and then push it in to take out all the extra water from there. And then that one is set. So first to fire right there. That's all done. Then on to the next one. We're moving on with the trailer. So on the trailer we just have the PSI for the tires. So we gotta find TP 65 PSI. So on here, oh, there we go, right here, very small. So we'll just cut it off and tilt this up. This one goes underneath of this plate, so then with this small one, I'm just going to push down to get the water out very lightly so I don't break anything on the other side. So that one's done, and then we got to repeat that on the opposite side. And then again on the side of this, I'm going to take my cotton bud and put it on the edge of the decal. Then I'm just going to slide the paper out from behind it. And then get it into place. And then roll it out. You might be saying that wasn't 30 seconds in the water. Well, I edited out a lot of the time because you don't need to be sitting there watching me hold a pair of tweezers and a decal underwater for 30 seconds. So I edit that out. So moving on with the trailer, let's see, any more on the trailer? Does not. Up on the back end of the trailer we do have some decals that go on the back end. So we have the white plate, so these two plates right here. So we'll have these two plates down, and then we'll have another decal that goes over top of them. So I'm going to get these cut off. I will say that the Dragon decals are going down great. Helps that they are printed by Cartograph, so we know that they're going to be great decals. So I got the two white plates cut out. I'm going to go ahead and get those soaked, and then I'll apply those, and then after that I'll apply the numbers after they've set and dried for a second. Alright, so it looks like this decal does it go on this piece? No. Looks like it goes onto this round tube right here. So get this applied on. And then roll out from the middle. Check and make sure it's square. It's not. So we're gonna move it down just a wee bit. Get it on there. It's in position. So now we're gonna just roll out the excess water. Like so. And then repeat for the other one. Okay, sometimes the decals do like to fight me on this when I'm doing it this way. Just lightly tap it with the cotton bud to get it into place. Maybe I didn't let it set in the water long enough. Maybe my count was a little bit faster that time. But again, just lightly tapping it with the Q-tip off the paper seems to work. And because it does seem a little bit dry, I'm going to come in with the wet end of the cotton bud, and I'm going to re-wet it, get it into place, get it nice and square, and then come back in and roll out the excess water. And it moved on me. Alright, so those are done. Now we get to add in the numbers that go on the back side. So we need 69, making sure the back of my head isn't blocking up the camera. 69 Bravo Delta Echo. So it looks like this smaller one right here, and then the 5 Charlie 445 will go. Alright, so we need both of these onto this long one. Alright, so let's get this one lined up. Again, this other decal moved on me. Decal does not like me. And this decal, the combo with the decal that's already doesn't like me, and the one that, alright, there we go. Alright, so let's get these to work. Alright, so that's done, and then we have 2 more decals to put on the back side. Number 17 and number 19. One more decal, 19, see if we can find it. Alright, so decaling on the trailer is done. Alright, so we had the first to fire decal, the tire pressures for the tires under here, and then the basically license plates for the back end of the trailer, and then a star and a little placard to go on right here. So I'm going to let that set for a little bit, and then we're going to hit that with the microsaw or microset. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get off of here, off the camera, and then I'm going to decal the rest of it off camera with the control box or electronics boxes and the Patriot containers. Then after all that's done and I have the decal set on it, or before I set the decal set, I'll come back and I'll go over that with you. So I'll be back in 1 second once all the decals on this are done. Alright, just a real quick note on these two decals on the control or electronics box for this Patriot system. So each one of these words is its own little decal. So it's a separate decal. The positive side of this is no carrier film in between. But you have to reposition each word to get it to line up. And on the instructions it does have the exclamation point saying be careful. So it does give you a little bit of a warning, but I mean afterwards it looks good. Yeah, it looks good with without it, with the separate words. But I'll be back in a second when the rest of it's all done. Alright, so we're back and we have all the decals done for the Patriot system. the MIM 104 Bravo Pack 1. So we got the decals on the canisters. There's one for the NATO Tritone and one in the Desert Tan right here. So in the decal sheet it says to put an empty decal right here, but these are going to be loaded and not empty. And the pictures that I could find on Google also doesn't have the empty, but also it has a bunch of other decals on there that are not included in this kit, but I digress. So again, got done with this a little bit ago, did a little mention on that earlier, and then this little decal that goes on here. And then when I was doing the trailer, I did miss 3 decals that needed to go on the very front. So right here you got 2 little placards and a star that go up on the front end of the trailer. So what I'm going to do now is I got my microsaw setting solution for decals and a brush. I have this brush specially marked. I marked it with a red permanent marker. I don't know if you can see the band. It's a very light band, but I got it marked so that way it's not used for anything else other than setting decals. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to dip the brush in the setting solution, dap off some of the excess, and then come across a decal like so and set it aside, because I am not going to touch it until it is completely dry. And again with this one, just come across the decal, let it set, and don't touch it, because what happens is it softens up the decal to let it deform. You might come back to it and you might see it crinkled up. Don't touch it, let it do its work, and trust the process. You'll hear me say that a lot when I'm doing, especially doing the weathering of stuff, because it will start to look kind of funky when I'm doing weathering. But I always have to repeat myself, trust the process, and at the end, after everything dies down, it'll look right. So just coming in again and then setting it off to the side so I don't touch it again. And this process, the applying it doesn't take long. Letting it dry takes about, depends on how warm it is in your location, can take anywhere between an hour to a few hours. So I typically let it set for about 6 or 7 hours before I touch it. So just coming in here, wiping it, and then these small decals very carefully on there. Let's hope that this decal doesn't move on me when I do this. There we go. Perfect. And then on the front end, and then the one decal on this side, which is the tire pressure. Alright, so we got the decal set on there. We're going to let it set for a few hours before we do anything else to it. Actually, it's going to be like another day before I mess with that. And then tomorrow, my club, we host a Saturday morning workshop. So we have, where we have our club meetings, we rent out the basement for from 6 a.m. to 12 noon every Saturday, and a bunch of us get together and we have a nice little workshop where we all get together and build models, talk and BS and joke and give each other a hard time, and it's a really good time. So we like to joke around and have a good time. So tomorrow when I'm at the workshop, I'm going to attempt to get all the decals done on the M983, which isn't much. There are 16 decals on this, and that's it. So should only technically take me about 30 to 40 minutes to get done, but we'll see if I can finish it in the 2 to 3 hours that I'm there at the workshop. But yeah, so then after that's done, I'm going to do the decal set on everything on this, let it dry, and then tomorrow after that's dried off, I'll apply the first clear coat, mainly just over the decals. I'm not going to clear coat the whole model again. I'm just going to go over the decals, kind of blend them in. I'm not going to spray it directly over and only over the decals, but kind of over that like immediate area, so that way it blends into the clear coat. And then after that, I'm going to do the Flory Models wash. Right here, I'm very low on it, but luckily a little bit does go a very, very long way. And I'll go over this on video with you guys. And then after that's all done, I'll put a matte coat, and then we start the oils, getting this thing dusty. Alright, so after that's dry, I'll be back here when we start doing the Flory model wash. Alright, so alright, so we're back and we're ready to start weathering on the Patriot system. So what I'm going to start off with is using the Flory Models wash on the Dragon M983 and the Patriot system trailer. I want to use this stuff to get into all the grates, so I'm going to spread this on, and then afterwards I'm going to let that dry for a couple hours, and then I'll come back in and I'll wipe it off with a wet Q-tip or a wet tissue. So I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to lay this stuff on with no care, because it's a clay base, so it comes up real easy. And I'm just gonna spread this on, and you can let this set for as long as you want. It's not like some of the other panel washes where if you let it set too long, it just becomes more and more difficult to get out. So I'm just gonna spread this in, let this set in there, and then when it's all dry, we'll come back and we'll knock it out with like a wet cotton bud or a wet paper towel. So just coming in here, spreading this all along. Just in the gratings. I'm going to use the panel liner, the Tamiya panel liner, for the rest of the kit, but for this I wanted to use the Flory Models wash. good thing is if you get this in an area that you don't want it to be in, you don't have to worry about the cleanup. It wipes off very easily. And recommend using a gloss coat while putting this on, because the gloss coat is a more fine finish and it will let clean up. Now if you want a super dirty model, then put a matte coat on, because what happens is the matte coat is a rougher paint, so it gets stuck in the particles and it's harder to get up. But with the gloss coat, it's a smoother paint and it will only stick in the areas that you want it to stick with that. So we'll get that done. Now on for the M983 on this back deck. Just spread it out. A little bit goes a very, very long way. Reapply some more. If you see some areas that are getting a little bit light, you just come back in and apply a little bit more over it. So we got all that. I want it up here. Just seeing a few areas I want to touch up on the trailer for the Patriot system. And also forgot, we have these little walkways down here underneath on the stabilizing arms. Coming back here, and we're just going to spread this in there. Alright, and then all you do to clean it up is water. Where is my water thing? There it is. The other thing is, I have a brush that's specifically meant for this Flory wash. The only thing it gets used for is the Flory model stuff. I have it marked that way, because if you use another, like say you use a paintbrush, you put it in and then you use it, and then the next model you're doing your wash and you use another paintbrush that you use for another paint, sometimes no matter how good you clean the paintbrush, there's always going to be contaminants from the last product you use. So you might put that product into the Flory wash and it could contaminate the Flory wash. So I keep one brush for it all. It's easy. It's marked. I don't have to worry about it. It's a brush I wouldn't use for anything else anyway, so it's not really a huge deal. But I'm going to let that dry for a few hours, and then we'll come back and wipe it all off and get that all done. So I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, we're back, and we let the Flory models wash dry all the way. So now we're going to go in and remove all the wash. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Q-tip. I'm going to wet it down a little bit. I'm going to take out some of the excess water, because I don't want the chance of flooding out the grates when I'm doing this. So, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and rub off the excess, and you have it's not looking as good as what I was hoping it was going to, honestly. I'm going to try doing it a different way on these to see if that helps change how it comes out. So nope. So what I'm going to do here is, now that I know it's going to work like that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to flood everything out, and then I'll come in with the Tamiya panel liner and do it that way. So I'm going to take care of cleaning up this mess, and then I'll be right back once I start with the Tamiya panel liner. Alright, so I got the Florids washed off for the most part. And the funny thing is, up here actually looks decent. Alright, so it actually does the job I was looking for it to do in filling in some of the gratings and making it look like it's kind of hollow back under there. But on the reverse side, or on the back side, it didn't give me that on everything, like up here on the front side did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with the Tamiya panel liner black right here. I'm going to go ahead and fill in all these, and then on the M983 it did the same thing. So I mean, I think for me that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to come in with the panel liners, and I'm going to use the brown panel liner for the M983 for all the other parts of the truck, and then just with the black on the desert tan. So, and then with this stuff, we'll start off with the grates. I'm just spreading this let that set for a little bit, and then we'll come back in with our cotton buds, and then just repeat for all these over here. Alright, and then I forgot about these gratings on the stabilizing arm, so we got to get those cleaned up. Again, I think these are going to be okay as is with just a Flory wash. So we'll just leave these as is after I get it all cleaned up. Yeah, I think it was something to do with the actual grating, because if the diamond shape is actually taking in the Flory wash, but this grating just did not accept it, did not hold it for some reason. So, but all the other grating is looking good. Alright, so we got that done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back in with the black panel liner. We're going to hit all the just around the lines, just to accent those areas, like the bolts here. Alright, so that part is almost done. I'm going to grab my odorless thinner, I'm almost out of, and then a Q-tip. I'm just going to grab a bunch of Q-tips because I know I'm going to be going through them. Oops. Alright, and then soak this in, get some of the excess off, and then just lightly brush over it. Camera is really making this look a lot darker than what it is. Alright, so I'm calling this trailer done for now with the panel wash. Am I 100% happy with it? No, not yet. I just gotta trust the process and hope that it comes through in the end. I am going to be throwing some oils on it, some faded white to break down and kind of dull down the desert tan, and also throwing in some dust oils along here to make it look like it's gone through, especially on the mud flaps back in here and here. And then yeah, so that's done. That will be getting a matte coat on. Up next, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get off the camera. I'm going to go ahead and do the panel lining of all the black for the desert tan parts. After that's done, I'll get back on camera for a little bit, and then I'll go off camera again so I can start doing the panel lining of the brown for all the NATO camo. And then we might do a little bit of paint weathering, some chipping and streaking, and then we'll move on to the clear coats. Alright, I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, we're back, and we got the black panel line wash, the Tamiya black panel or panel line accent color, all done on the desert tan stuff. So the Patriot container, again, this camera is making it look a lot stronger than what it actually is in person. So I do have a little bit of cleanup on this. Alright, so yep, it's looking good. And then the launching rail, again, I'm going to be throwing dust, like dust collected in these angle irons right in here and all that. I'm not worried about this walkway grading because you're not going to be able to see it, because there's going to be containers blocking it. So I'm not really 100% worried about that, but that's looking good. And then the control boxes, got those all done. That one, and then these two right here. So yeah, those are looking good, and moving those off to the side because now we get to start with the NATO camo and all those parts. And we're going to be using, for that, we're going to be using the panel accent color brown by Tamiya for this. We're going to give this a shot and see how it looks, and then go from there. And I know the mirror, it broke off during transport a couple days ago. I have it. I'm just going to wait until the very end to attach it so I don't knock it off again. Now I'm going to get off of here, and I am going to do all the panel line accents on this, and panel line accents on that, and the Patriot containers, and the wheels for the Hammett and the trailer. Alright, so yeah, we're going to get that done off camera, and then after that's done, after all the brown panel line accents are done, I'll come back, show you how it's looking, and then I'm going to put the matte coat on everything so we can start the oil washes and oil weathering. So I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, we're back, and I got some of the assembly done on, or actually all of the assembly done for this build. And then what I'm going to do is, after I let all this dry for a little bit, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start dusting it up and making it dirty and adding some streaks to it and such. So got all that done with the Def model wheels on. Those look really good, a lot better than what the kit wheels would have looked on here and everything. I still have the Windows mask because I am gonna make a mask for the windshield wipers and then dust up the front windows. So still left the mask on for that. And then I also have another matte coat to put on it once I put the oils on, just to protect those from getting messed up anymore. So got all that done on the M983. So that's ready for weathering. And then moving on to the MIM 104, we got that all assembled and looking good. So I'm kind of afraid to tilt it over right now all the way, but we got all that done. And again, with this, the only real weathering I'm going to do on this is the sand and dust on the wheels. So we got all that done, and that's looking good, because these were pretty much freshly painted when they got to the field. There wasn't much to them when they got to the field. So just some sand and dust when like they're rolling out to the desert. And then finally we got the MQ-53 C-band radar. This one I'm going to call done. I'm not going to worry about doing all the weathering on this, because it's not going to be going on the base with the rest. It will not fit on the base or accurately denote the amount of space that was between the radar and the Patriot system. So I'm going to put this separate. I'm just going to have it stand alone on the shelf without any issues. So it looks really good when it's all done. I'll be doing the final review of this after I get done shooting this video. And then I'm going to start doing the weathering of the Patriot system. For the weathering of the Patriot system and for the base, I'm going to be using the AKA Terrain's Desert Sand for the wheels and also for the base. And I have some other tufts that I'm going to add to the desert to kind of liven it up a little bit. And then for the oils, for the dust, I'm using the Abteilung ABT 003 dust right here. And to fade off the green, I'm going to use, and the brown and the black, to make it look like it's been kind of sitting in the sun and it's an older vehicle, I'm going to use Abteilung 0 or Abteilung ABT 165 faded white. So, and using the oils for all that. So I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to do all the oils. We'll get those done, add some streaking to it. Maybe I might use some black or Starship filth from the bolts or something, sepia or something. I haven't made the decision yet on what I'm going to use for those weatherings. So I'm going to get off of here and I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, so this is the first side done on the tires. Instead of going in with the oils and all stuff, and I figured I'm going to be using desert sand on the base, so I might as well use the stuff that the tire is going to be sitting on to weather the tires. So I'm using this AK Desert Sand. And what I'm doing is I'm just applying it with a brush and then kind of blending it in as I work it. So now I'm going to go over to the other side and we will repeat the process. So I just want to make sure I get a good hand hold on this. And then, alright, so we got that. And then, like I said, I'm just going to come in here, get some dust or desert sand, and I'm going to rub it on the wheel. Just like so. Just get it in the tread. Get it all around. Grab some extra and then kind of blend it, bring it down. And work it back to where it's kind of starting to fade out a little bit, like it's not as thick, but it's staying the tire. Alright, so that tire's done. It got a little bit more on the bottom side here, just to kind of make it so it doesn't look like it has stripes. There we go. Then coming in with a little brush, we're just going to put in some Alright. So that's one wheel done, or actually technically 5 wheels done. I'm going to go ahead and get the other 3 done, then I'll be back when I start doing the oils. Alright, the weathering of the M983 is all done. Got the windshield dusted up. Looks like the windshield wipers have been wiping off some dust. Got the top faded a little bit, and then the gas tank and some areas that would collect dust hit up with some dust in there. So, and then some dust along the bottom being kicked up here. So not much to that. And then on the trailer, I just did the same process with the wheels for the sand. Now for the base, I found an old bookshelf that I have that I'm not going to be using, so I just pulled that out. It fits everything perfectly, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to rough up the surface right here, so that way it has the desert sand has a good adhesion surface, because this is actually pretty glossy and pretty fine finish, so I want something for this to bite into. But I'm going to get off of here, I'm going to sand this down real quick, and then when I start applying the desert sand, I am going to do a quick video with that. So I'll be back in 1 second. Alright, so we got the board sanded down in an area where I'm going to be applying it. I'm not going to be applying it all the way to the edge. I'm going to be kind of doing a rough edge along here, kind of fading it out, blending it into the board. So I got it sanded, and I also added these little felt pads to the bottom, so that way it has something to sit on, and it raises the board off, so I do have a little bit of a place to grab it when the model's on and get some leverage underneath of it without having to grab on top of the model. So that's why I do that, and I got them off of Amazon, a pack. I think I got like 300, and it's like 15-20 bucks maybe tops, so it's not bad for that. So but for the base, to start off with, things I'm going to need are the AK Desert Sand, and then a sponge brush. That's what I'm going to use to apply it to the board, and then this just a little sponge that I got out of a Edward box. And what I'm going to do is, once it's all spread out, I'm going to take this sponge, fold it up, dip it in some water, and help level it all out. So alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to open this up and then dip this brush in, get it. Stuff is a little bit dry, but I'm going to get it, and I'm just going to spread it on here like so. Zoomed out a little bit. I'm not worried about lines or anything right now, because I'm going to come in with that sponge and I'm going to flatten it and blend it and do all that. So I'm just coming in here, I'm spreading it generously all around. Alright, so now that that's done, I got it nice and spread. I got a little bit of time to work with it before it starts to dry, so I'm just going to take this sponge, I'm going to dip it in the water, I'm going to squeeze out some of the excess, because I don't want it soaked, I just want it damp. Then I'm going to come in here and pat it all around, take care of all the lines, and then just kind of level it out, and also adds a texture to it so it's not just flat, and bleeding it into the board so it's not just a hard edge. working my way all the way around, re-soaking it ever so often. When it starts to stick more than what it's supposed to. Alright, so I'm going to need to add more to the base. Kind of some weak spots in here. Just come in, slab that in right there and right here. Alright, and then again with the sponge, getting it damp, wringing it out, and then we're going to come back in here and blend the new stuff into the old. Alright, so that's good enough now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with the... This isn't going to have any tread, so... I want to do a test real quick to see how this is going to look. Alright, yeah, that's looking the part. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to let this dry overnight. I'm going to pull this stuff off before I let it set. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to let this set overnight, let it dry fully, and then I'll come in and I'm going to get some tufts from the basement that I have, some ground effects, so we can kind of liven up the sides around the Patriot system. Then after that's all done, I'll come in and shade in or spray in some shadowing with the airbrush. Then after that, I'm just attaching this to the base, and this is done. So this should be done in a couple days, which is awesome. I am ready to get this off of my workbench. So I will be back in 1 second when all the base is dry and I'm adding in the tufts, and then after that we'll get everything attached, and that will be the end of this part. So I'll see you in a second. Alright, so we're back in the base. The desert sand is all dried up and ready to go. So up next, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of coloring and texture to this using the Woodland Scenics medium ballast. Here we're going to spray some of this Woodland Scenic cement all over it, and then lightly sprinkle that about. Then after that, we're going to come in here with these Ammo by MIG small tufts, bushes, and I'm going to pick the most brown ones in here and then glue those onto the base just in sporadic places, just to kind of liven it up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that done, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so the base is all done. I got the tufts all glued on. So that's going to do it for this part. I'm going to get everything attached to the base. Because there's not a lot of areas to drill into on this, I'm just going to use the Bob Smith 2-part epoxy for this, just to get it attached to the base. And I'm not going to be picking this up and tilting it all over the place, and it's going to have large contact areas for it to sit on, so not really too worried about it falling off of the base. So that will do it for this. The base, like I said, was just a bookshelf with the AK Terrains Desert Sand. My sprayer wasn't working, so I was able to brush this on, and then with that I added the medium ballast buff from Woodland Scenics, and I sped up the drying process using a blow dryer instead of waiting all night for it to dry. So I just hit it, and then if the blow dryer blew off any extra ballast, that was okay. And then afterwards I came in with some super glue and the tufts from Ammo by MIG. I've tried to find the brownest ones out there. There's a little bit of green to them, but I'm okay with that. So, but this is all done. I'm going to get everything attached to the base, and then after that will be the final review and debrief of this build for the final part. So thank you for watching, and look forward to seeing you on the next video when we finish this all up. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay frosty.